Claude Code is a pretty amazing tool. You probably know that, I know it, I'm using it all the time, and a couple of weeks ago I shared a video with some insights on how I use Claude Code to get the most out of it. I also created a full Claude Code course. But over those weeks, I've also heavily used Codex. And for example, this drawing app, which I'm using in all my videos recently, that was built with Codex and Claude Code and, of course, myself. Now, obviously, Codex is an AI coding tool, so the things I shared in that Claude Code video pretty much also apply to Codex. But Codex also has some extra aspects, which I like a lot, about which I want to talk today. How I'm using Codex in addition to Claude Code to, well, get the most out of that. And one interesting thing I want to start with is that on the Codex website already, the first thing you see, at least if you're on a Mac, I guess, is this desktop app that you can use, the Codex desktop app. Now, Claude Code also has a desktop app, but for me, it always felt like kind of an attachment to the normal Claude app, and I never really liked it or used it a lot. I use Claude Code pretty much only in the command line. And Codex I use there too, a lot, but I will say this desktop app is pretty good. Now, at the point of time where I'm recording this, it's only available for macOS. A Windows version is planned, I think, and it is an Electron app as far as I know, so yeah. It should be available on other systems too. I think the reason I read why it's not available on Windows yet is the sandboxing, which is built in, where the agent runs in a sandbox, which uses native platform features. That doesn't seem to work on Windows yet, or something like that. I don't know. But this app is pretty nice visually. For example, I like the aesthetics and I like the way it works. It feels really fast. It has a clean UI. I also, for example, like that you don't have your file tree in there by default, but if you have pending changes, uncommitted changes, you have this very nice clean overview of which files changed and what changed in each file since the last commit. And you can leave tiny comments here by clicking a plus, remove that. I don't know. And if you do that, if you add such a comment, that gets added as context to your prompt. That is a really nice way of combining both, essentially. Reviewing the code, diving into the code, which you still should. I do. You should still review and read the code. You're still a developer. Don't fall into the vibe coding trap. But then you can directly add your comments there and link them to your prompt, to your follow-up prompt you're going to send to the AI. So I like that a lot. And I think that's one really cool feature there. Now, that being said, I'm not using the desktop app for everything. It's just one way of using Codex, which I do like to use from time to time. I'm really using it in different ways, just as I'm using Codex and Claude Code at the same time, also to stay up to date about what's changing and how these things behave. By the way, side note, just as I have a complete Claude Code course, which you find linked below the video, I also created a complete Codex course where I share all my knowledge about Codex and dive way deeper into Codex and how to use its advanced features, also features like Git work trees, or how to use Codex as a non-coding agent, which can also be super fun. I got all that in the course, and you find a link to that course below the video too. So if you want to learn way more about Codex and or Claude Code, the links are below the video. Now, as I shared in the Claude Code video, I still don't loop. I don't use the Ralph loop thing. Is that still a thing? I don't know. I stay in control, and yeah, planning still matters. And of course, therefore, you also got a plan mode here. You can enable it in the desktop app simply by hitting Shift-Tab. But it also exists in the command line, so you can use Codex as a command line tool, just like Claude Code, and hit Shift-Tab there as well to go into the plan mode there. And I'm using that all the time. That hasn't changed. I find that super useful. Just as with Claude Code also, explicit over implicit still applies, and I'll get back to the skills part here. That still applies, and you still wanna provide relevant context. Those AI agents and models that are used in these agents, they're really good at finding relevant context actually. So you don't need to mention every single file that could matter, but if you do know that a certain file will matter, like here, this file, you wanna point your agent at it. You wanna tell Codex about it. Or here, where I wanna add SEO, metadata, and so on. This is a Next.js application, so it makes sense to do a quick search, find the relevant docs article, copy that article, and then maybe expand the prompt like this and paste that article in there. Now, I won't do that for every single article or every single piece of documentation the model should know about. You can and should also use other features or concepts like the Context 7 MCP, which is an MCP server you can add to your AI agent, which is in the end a search tool for documentation. And when using Codex, adding an MCP is very simple if you're using the desktop app. There under settings, you have your MCP servers. And you can just click add server here and fill in your MCP details there. But of course, you don't need the desktop app. You can also just follow the instructions you find on the MCP page. So here in case of Context 7, under all clients, there is OpenAI Codex. And then you can just tweak your Codex configuration, the global one or the project specific one, depending on where you want to add that MCP to include this. Essentially, you don't need an API key with Context 7 for basic usage. So you can do that, but if you know that something will matter, be explicit about it. It doesn't hurt. It speeds things up. It can save you some tokens, and in the end, you're paying for them. It may be a subscription, but still, you got a certain amount of maximum usage in there. So yeah, if you know about something, be explicit. It's a good idea. What I also still like a lot are skills. In case you don't know, agent skills is kind of an official thing. There is a standard, and the idea is that you have your skill folders and you can add them, for example, in your .codex folder in a project, have your skills folder in there, or you can have a global one on your system if you have skills that should be shared across all projects. But then a skill is really just a folder with a skill.md file in there, and then you got a name, you got a description, and that's the important part because that description tells the agent when to activate this skill. And then you have your actual skill information in there. Now, the idea behind skills, in case you don't know, is that they will be discovered step by step. They're lazily loaded, you could say. It's not the case that this entire skill.md file will be loaded into the context window every time you send a prompt to the agent. Instead, only the metadata is loaded into the context window when you start a new agent session, along with the system prompt and so on. And it's then this description in the end, and the skill name, but mostly the description, that gives the agent a hint about when it might want to read more about that skill, when it wants to activate that skill. So that description is really important. And then, for example, here, when working with TypeScript, the agent may decide to read the full skill, and then in there I can have my additional instructions on how to efficiently work with TypeScript. And there also is a skills registry, skills.sh, and here you find all kinds of skills, for example, also on working with BetterAuth, so that you can teach the agent, so to say, give it some extra context, some extra knowledge on how to efficiently use BetterAuth in this case here. And in the end, it is always all about constructing the right context and giving the agent the right information. So skills, just as with Claude Code, still matter a lot when working with Codex. And I found Codex to be very efficient at when it comes to activating the right skills at the right time. I was really happy with its behavior there. And then there are these points here, which I also already mentioned in the Claude Code video. And they have not changed, but they're very important to me. You should absolutely embrace these agentic engineering tools. They are the future of development. I'm convinced about that. And you can be super efficient when using them, when using all the features they offer. It is important, but you want to always verify the output you're getting out of them. You want to review the code. And one feature Codex also has there, which I like a lot too, is its code review feature. Claude Code has a similar feature, and I find these features very, very helpful. You can just run the /review command, then you can choose what to review against. So if you want to review the current branch against the base branch, which is kind of what you would do with a pull request, or if you want to review uncommitted changes, and you can start that and let it do its thing, and that often gives you an additional set of eyes, if you want to call it like this, that looks over your code. But you still also always want to do that yourself. You're responsible for your code. It's not the AI, it's you. So you wanna carefully verify it and do code reviews and be clear about what you want and check if you got what you wanted. And I mentioned this also in the Claude Code video, and it's very important to me. You're still allowed to write code. You're still allowed to write code. You're still a developer. Of course, it's shifting. Of course, it's more about planning and controlling and steering the AI and doing code reviews. Our role is evolving and shifting. But you're still allowed to write code. You can still do that. If you know how to build something, if you want to have 10 pixels of margin in a certain place, just do it. You don't have to ask the AI about it. You should also, by the way, always make sure that you still understand your code base, that you don't detach from it. It's a trap. It's super easy to fall into. It's super easy to become fully detached, and then you're essentially forced to do vibe coding, and you don't want to get there. You want to always understand your code base, and you always want to be able to go in there, make changes on your own. You will do way less of that than in the past. You will write less code, at least I do, but you're still allowed to write some code. And then there is one last thing I also want to mention, which also applies to Claude Code and essentially all these coding agents, but also to Codex. You have this concept of an Agents.md file, right? And the idea here really is that you have this central file in your project where you have some basic instructions the agent should always follow. This file, unlike the skills, is always loaded into the context window of every session. Therefore, you should keep this file concise. You should not bloat it because it will take up space in every context window of every session. And if it would be super large, it would not just take up a lot of space, but also the more irrelevant context you have in your context window, the more irrelevant context you share along with every prompt, the worse the results will get. So you don't want to put a lot of irrelevant context into your prompts. And of course, if you had a super large Agents.md file, chances would be high that there would be so much information there that often wouldn't matter, that you might get worse results. So this file should really be focused and short and concise. You, for example, want to describe your basic project structure, your tech stack, some key commands that can be executed, some general core code styles or rules you want the agent to always follow, and what I like to do, clearly encode how it should self-verify its work, because that's one of the most important things when using coding agents, no matter if it's Claude Code, no matter if it's Codex, anything else. You want to give these tools ways of verifying their own work. You want to have automated tests. You want to allow them to use the browser with the Playwright MCP, for example. You want to use linting, type checking. All that matters, and that's something I also like to put in there. So use that Agents.md file to your advantage. Keep it concise. Put the important information in there. And whenever you see the agent make a mistake or repeat a mistake, I should say, put the fix for that in that file too. If the agent consistently misbehaves and does something in a way you don't like, tell it about it here in this file, because that will be loaded for every new session. And therefore, using this Agents.md file efficiently is something I feel like is often overlooked. It's an aftersight for many developers, and it's a crucial file you should use to your advantage, but you should ensure that you use it correctly. Yeah, and that's effectively how I use these coding agents. Much of the things I mentioned in the Claude Code video apply to Codex. There are some nice extra features, some additions, which I didn't mention in that video. And yeah, I hope with that, you can get the most out of these agents and out of these tools too. They are the future, if we like it or not, I think.